Welcome to the show. Today we are talking about 10 must-have games for the PSP. Loco Roco 2 is an imaginative and original platforming game that marries unique gameplay with an extremely vibrant and gorgeous aesthetic. Add into this that the over-the-top energy of the music will probably have you whistling to yourself for days after playing it, and you have all of the ingredients that make up a damn fine game. Developed by SCE Japan and released in 2008, Loco Roco 2 possesses a unique control scheme that utilizes the PSP's shoulder buttons. Each one controls the direction in which your Loco Roco will travel, as well as the ability to jump when hitting both of them together. Whilst exploring each level, your Loco Roco will grow in size depending on how many berries you eat, and at certain points will have to be separated in order to advance. The charming animations are sure to put a smile on your face as you break apart and form back up. The characters are pretty much one-dimensional balls of sound and colour, but with the ability to choose from a variety of them, everybody is sure to find one they like. I found myself just sticking to the default yellow choice, but nonetheless it was one hell of a laugh to play through, regardless of which character you choose. The sixth installment in the Kingdom Hearts franchise, serving as a prequel to the original game in the series, it centers around the adventures of Terra, Aqua and Ventus. Like the previous games in the series, the story takes place across a variety of worlds, 5 in total, which are based on several of Disney's popular films. Set out as 3 different campaigns, you have the option to choose your character at the start of the adventure, and with each scenario lasting a good 10 to 15 hours, you get a lot of bang for your buck. Initially, the prospect of playing through the same story 3 times doesn't seem like a pleasant one, but Birth by Sleep manages to pull it off. You'll be meeting different characters, fighting different bosses, as well as visiting new areas of each world. Essentially an action role-playing game, it introduced a new feature to the series known as the command system, which plays heavily into the game's combat. You can gain a variety of special commands that aid you in battle and forms your command deck, and to top it all off, each command can be developed and formed into new ones, offering up a hell of a lot of experimentation for the player. Ridge Racer 2 on the PSP is far superior than the first one that was released for the console's launch. In all fairness, it is basically just the same game but with a huge injection of content, which sees the game become a lot more value for the price of admission. With over 42 tracks from the previous game, 62 cars and a load of new modes that were absent from the first title, this really is the ultimate ridge racing experience on the go. Perceived as nothing more of an update to the original instead of a full-on sequel, with the game using the same engine, the visuals look almost identical to the first, but in 2017, and with the game costing next to nothing to pick up, these issues can easily be overlooked. As any long-time fan of the show will know, I love myself some Ridge Racer, and although there are several other great races for the system such as Gran Turismo and Burnout, I believe Ridge Racer 2 is the best, in part due to the classic drifting gameplay that many have come to expect from the franchise, as well as the absolutely overwhelming amount of content. If you like fun pockets of pick-me-up arcade goodness on the go, then this one is for you. However, if you prefer a more realistic driving experience, Gran Turismo easily surpasses it. Developed by Square Enix and released in 2011, this game serves as both a prequel and remake of Dissidia Final Fantasy. The gameplay remains largely similar but comes along with a few notable changes that manage to mix up the formula enough for me to recommend this version over the previous one. The game centers primarily around one-on-one battles that take place on a battle map. Each character can perform 2 types of attack known as Bravery or HP. Bravery attacks do not take damage and serve as a way to increase the power of your HP attack, with the damage dealt by a HP move being linked to the amount of bravery points you possess. The fighting evolves into a sort of tug of war over bravery points. The game sees many of the popular Final Fantasy characters coming together, so there is something for everyone right from the start, and with the inclusion of a traditional world map in the single player mode, it allows you to experience the story and explore the world, which is full of different scenarios and events. A Japanese role-playing game released for the PSP in 2006, it wasn't until 2011 that the Western territories managed to get a translated version of this game. Trails in the Sky sees you taking control of several characters throughout the duration of its remarkably intricate story that is set in the Kingdom of Libel. As with all RPGs, it's really make or break when it comes to the battle system, and thankfully Trails in the Sky delivers on this aspect. Each battle takes place on a grid and is turn-based in nature, with the order of turns being outlined by a tracker known as the AT keypad. You have the option to move or attack, as well as take advantage of the 3 other forms of actions known as arts, crafts and S-crafts. Arts serve as the game's form of magic attacks and team support abilities, where crafts are tied specifically to one character and cost craft points in order to use. Upon reaching an amount of 100 points, the player is then able to utilize the S-crafts that are essentially powered up versions of the craft moves. This game is easily accessible, with it now being available on a variety of platforms such as Steam, the PS3 and Vita. Trails in the Sky is an RPG that deserves your time and is one game not to be missed. Persona 3 Portable is a re-release of the PlayStation 2 title Persona 3. The story remains true, if not identical, to the first release, and sees you taking up the role of a new transfer student starting at high school. The game has been one of the most influential JRPGs of our time, successfully rebooting Atlus's most promising franchise. While there have been some necessary cuts to the game in order to make it viable for a handheld, it really doesn't affect it too much when compared to the original. One of note has to be the exclusion of animated cutscenes for the many story elements present within the game. This is a disappointment and does detract from the story's delivery, but the game more than makes up for this in different areas. With the option to choose a female protagonist, which in turn alters some aspects of the story, there is quite a lot players of the original will appreciate. It allows you to play through the game with a different perspective, as well as adding a few new social links into the mix. Quite easily, this has to be the best RPG for the system. The storyline, the battle mechanics, the soundtrack, they all add up to make something truly special that should not be missed. Now, the fact that God of War was even running on a PSP with the kind of visual flair present in the game is nothing short of a testament to the talent of the development team behind it. This really is the big screen God of War experience running on a handheld, and it looks fucking gorgeous. It serves as the 4th installment of the franchise, but depicts the events prior to the original God of War on the PS2. You take control of Kratos, a Spartan warrior with severe anger issues. The game is primarily a combo-based brawler with elements of platforming as well as a few puzzles thrown in, but combat is where the game really shines, and as you progress, new weapons are unlocked, which open up alternative options when encountering enemies such as the Sun Shield and Gauntlet of Zeus. As well as being well versed in the art of combat, Kratos also possesses 3 magic abilities that also contribute to the ways in which combat can be mixed up. With the lack of a second analog stick on the PSP, many were worried that the game's controls would not transfer well to the hardware, but Ready at Dawn pulled it off. If you're a fan of the series, this one is a no-brainer. Although I only played Patapon 3 for a short period of time, I have to say that I have never met such an innovative and impressive game before. The rules are simple, as well as the core idea of the game. Each face button of the PSP represents a drum, which must be hit in time with an established rhythm in order to relay your instructions to an army of Patapons. This formula remains largely unchanged from previous games in the series, with the exception of the new superhero Patapon, who acts as your presence within the game. Another addition to Patapon 3 was a greater emphasis on multiplayer, which is expanded and featured more prominently. Every level is available to play in this mode and can consist of up to 8 players simultaneously. Now, there can be a lot of backtracking involved in the game in order to gather mana to increase your army, and this is mainly one of the only complaints with the game that I have. Developed and published by Square Enix, War of the Lions is essentially an updated version of the original PlayStation release from 1997. Taking advantage of the updated hardware, the game fully utilizes the new screen estate as well as the incorporation of a multiplayer mode. Also bringing with it a bunch of new characters from the Final Fantasy series made this version the one to get. A turn-based tactical role-playing game is best compared to the likes of chess, with each fighter moving about a grid-like board in accordance with their allotted movements. Each map present within the game affects this allotment, with the range and mobility dependent on each map's terrain. With around 22 jobs available within the game, ranging from swordsmen to dancers, there is a huge amount of experimentation involved, which translates to a nice amount of replayability. Fulfilling actions within battle will grant you experience and job points, which all contribute to the effectiveness of your abilities. What makes War of the Lions stand out is the potential to carry across certain skills over different job types, which makes switching jobs halfway through all the easier. The best version of this game was included in the HD collection for the PS3 and 360, mainly due to the addition of a second analog stick and how it improves the gameplay when compared to the PSP version. Now, with that out of the way, Peace Walker is an absolute triumph and was a technical showcase for the PSP upon its release. The amount of content in this game is truly staggering, and with the game being developed with the system in mind, you will find yourself being tasked with shorter missions that benefit from the pick up and play nature of the hardware. As always, from Kojima, you can expect a great storyline that will keep you guessing throughout throughout the duration of the campaign. Essentially the archetype of Metal Gear Solid 5, you can expect to be managing your own base as you deal with personnel gained from missions in the field, as well as increasing the ever-growing options of weapons and items available to you through your base's development. Truly a must-have for the system. Go out and pick this one up.